This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Well, thank you so much, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and today's guest is about as steeped in the blues as you can get. In fact, his new album and Alligator debut, Blues in My DNA, is a strong testimony to the upbringing he had in Chicago. Learning his craft from the likes of Albert Collins, B.B. King, Willie Dixon, and Koko Taylor, legends all, but most notably and significantly at the feet of his equally legendary father, the late Lonnie Brooks. Now, I could go on, but we've got a lot of stuff to talk about here. He has the new album that I referenced. He's also visiting the Token Lounge this Saturday in Westland, Michigan, and tickets are going fast. Ronnie Baker Brooks, welcome to Time Signatures, man. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Jim.
Now, I before we get going here, I have a personal message for you from the illustrious Queen Bee, Bonnie Stebbins, who launched the Capital Area Blues Society 30 years ago. I'm wearing one of our 30th anniversary shirts, and she wanted me to tell you that she sends her very best.
Oh, give her my love back, man. I appreciate it.
We just got it recorded. I'll make sure she gets to see it here. But
Yeah.
we're absolutely going to be talking about the new album, which launches on this Friday officially with a CD release party at Fitzgerald's in Berwyn. But I
Right.
have to ask you about that first guitar at the age of 9. What do you remember about getting that?
Oh, man. It was like amazing because I wasn't expecting my dad to get me such a great guitar, a Gibson, because at the time I was playing like I can't even remember. It was a brand we probably got out of the catalog somewhere, and I would break the strings because they wasn't real guitar strings. And when my dad saw me progressing, he decided to get me that guitar, man. And I slept with that guitar, man. I just could not put it down. And
Wow.
yeah, that was wrong. I got that guitar when I was about 7 or 8 years old, man.
Now, how long after you received the guitar did you start working in earnest to hone your skills, Ronnie?
Ooh, real quick, because I was already playing my dad's guitars,
Okay. All right.
on the house with his guitars. And quick story that I hadn't told that much about. I was playing one of his guitars. I think it was like a 335 Gibson. We lived on the second floor, and we had a dog named Rex. And I'm playing on the porch with the dog sitting next to me, man. And I set the guitar down on the balcony. Yeah, you getting ready. You know what's coming. I set the guitar down on the balcony, and we had these railings with a little gap in between. And I go to the bathroom, and my dog saw another dog and kicked the guitar down, and it hit the ground. I actually got there. I heard him hollering and barking, and I ran. And as soon as I got there, I seen the guitar going down. It was like slow motion. And my dad was so mad at me, man. And after that, he got me a guitar, and he taught me how to put my guitars up after we get through playing. Put them up. Make sure you put them up in a safe place.
Man, that was an expensive lesson because even back then, the 335 by Gibson was an expensive guitar.
Yeah, this had to have been in the 70s, early 70s, man.
Wow.
I had to have been about 7 years old. Something like that, maybe 74. Yeah. And I cringe now. I cringe now thinking about that, man. It's like,
Yeah.
But yeah, he got me the SG. And if you remember the Bayou Lightning album on Alligator, where he's posing with the lightning coming out the guitar on the cover, well, I decided to use that same guitar on the cover of my album on the Chicago lakefront as well as a tribute.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, talk about the stint when you were working with your father as a roadie following high school. How did you feel? What was the experience? Did it feed your hunger to get into the family biz? And speaking of that, at what point did you decide that this was going to be your path in life?
Man, I just wanted to be with Dad. I just wanted to go where he went, man. And, it was always like that at home with us. He would have us involved when he was playing or writing songs or whatever. And he involved us, all of them. My brother Wayne Baker Brooks. Wayne would be playing sticks. I mean, I'm sorry, spoons and knives and spoons and sporks on the drum, on boxes trying to play the drums, and I would play the bass on the guitar.
Wow.
And he would just let us join in, man, whatever we could create.
Right.
And I just wanted to be with Dad. So when it was times he needed help on the road, like when I got in I want to say in high school around my sophomore year, sophomore year, I started going on the road for the weekends with Dad. But at the time I wasn't playing, I was playing basketball. But in the summers when I wasn't, I would go out and work with Dad. And man, I just wanted to be around him. And then eventually I got the bug, man. Once I graduated from high school, I went on the road with him full time.
Nice.
And we were right here in Chicago at a place called Kingston Mines.
Oh yeah.
I was too young to be in, but they allowed me to go in because I was working with him.
Right.
And the late great Albert Collins came by to set in with my dad. And I had met Albert back in like 1980, 81. They did a show together here at a place called the Mill Run with Big Twist and the Mellow Fellows and Dad and Albert Collins. And I met him then. But this time I was more involved with the guitar. And man, I saw him and my dad go into a guitar battle.
Mm. And
right at that moment, just like in the movie The Blues Brothers, where they go into the church.
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw the light. And I prayed right there. I said, God, if you keep me healthy,
wow.
That's what I want to do the rest of my life.
Wow. What a great story. Now, in 1991, you hit the road as part of the Alligator Records 20th anniversary tour, which put you in regular company with the likes of not only your father, Lonnie, but also Elvin Bishop, Katie Webster. And then you got to jam with Koko Taylor and Lil Ed. I mean, does it get any better than that?
It didn't, man. No. I mean, this was every night too,
Wow.
It was incredible. Thinking back now, that was, over 30 years ago, man. And most of them gone. Little Ed is still with us, thank God,
Yeah.
But all the rest of them, and of course, Elvin Bishop is still with us. But Coco and my dad and Katie gone. And thinking back, man, that'll never happen again like that. It was just great times. And, it was like almost like a movie thing because we'd be on the bus cracking jokes, laughing, and one particular story, we was rolling down the highway somewhere and Katie got up to use the bathroom on the bus and she was gone for a long time. It was like, hey, where did Katie go? All the time we didn't know she was locked in the bathroom. She couldn't get out.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
But,
how long was she in there?
She was in there for a while, and we didn't realize it till I was like, man, where's Katie? We better check her, but we couldn't hear her. She was banging on the door because we were making so much noise. We couldn't hear her. Yeah, man. Those kind of moments we were having every night, man. And then the jams at the show was incredible, And then it was my chance to play with Elvin Bishop, who I love, man. Elvin helped me so much during those times because when we had off days or, time at the hotel, he would either come to my room or I'll go to his room and we'll jam. And he'll show me on the guitar, man. And I got tapes of that stuff in my safe today of me and him jamming in the hotel room, man. And it was just a great time.
Audio tapes?
Yeah, on cassette.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Ronnie, undeniably, the Chicago blues scene truly is a branch of the blues genre unto itself. And along the way, you got to share the stage with some incredibly gifted musicians from your hometown. I mean, now I've got to know what it was like to be watching those legends so regularly from the side of the stage. That had to have been something almost surreal, wasn't it?
It was. Looking back now, it's really like, this was like a dream almost, just to know that I'm standing next to B.B. King or standing next to Buddy Guy and Junior Wells, Koko Taylor, Otis Rush, Magic Slim, Eddie the Chief Clearwater, Jimmy Johnson. I mean, this was regular. And when you're in it, at the time, you think it would last forever. It was a feeling to me like, this will last forever. Right. But Oh man, it's like I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity.
Yes, sir. Well, I have to ask you about the feedback and advice that you received from BB King and Koko Taylor. I'd love to hear that from you. How did that come about, and what did they say to you?
Coco was like, I always say she was like my blues mother. Uh,
Hmm.
so many shows together back then, that we were together a lot, and she would always encourage me. Even like when I would come out on the weekends when I was a kid, I'll never forget one moment we were playing at PJ Flaherty's here on the south side of Chicago. And it was a co-bill of Lonnie Brooks and Koko Taylor. And Dad was on stage. And at the time, I was just helping him if he break a string or whatever. I wasn't playing.
Sure. Yeah.
And carrying his gear, whatever. So I'm backstage with Koko and Pops Taylor. And I was a teenager, man, like 14, something like that, 13, 14. And she knew that I played, but I had quit to play basketball. But she knew that I played. She was telling me, she's like, Ronnie, learn as much as you can from your dad, because he's one of the greatest. Because one day you guys gonna have to keep this blues alive, you know. And it was just
Yes,
like
sir.
a motherly love came over me, man. I could still feel it now. I can hear her voice, and she was so supportive, man. I mean, pushing me, and then when I got the chance to play with her, she would tell me when I wasn't playing right. That
Nothing
ain't
wrong
the
with that.
blues. You got to play the blues with some feeling. You know, she would get on me, man. But she was
Yeah,
so encouraging, like my blues mother. And then BB King was like a family member as well, man. When I was a kid, about the time Daddy started showing me how to play, and I was about 8, 9 years old, my dad would go hang out with BB, and BB would send me notes home saying, hey, keep practicing, listen to your parents, and do good in school. Encouraging, uplifting, letters, man. And I wish I'd have
sure.
kept stuff, because we moved and I lost a lot of it. But and then it was another moment. We did the BB King tour in 1993. It was the BB
Hmm.
King Blues Festival with BB King as a headliner, Buddy Guy, Eric Johnson, and I
Wow.
was in the band playing behind Junior Wells, Koko Taylor, and Dad. And man, we were in Miami, and every night on that tour, we did like 50 something days across the United States.
Sure.
Every on that tour, I was watching BB, Buddy, everybody like a hawk, man, on the side. After we were done, it was like classes in session. And one particular night in Miami, BB saw me, and as he was walking off the stage, it was, how about it for BB King? He said, come here, son. And he grabbed me. He grabbed me and put his arms around me and said, son, I've been watching you watch me. I want you to know that your dad is just as good as me or better. We just got different styles.
Wow.
And hearing that from BB King, man, was like, I guess he knew how much I was admiring him, but he didn't want to put himself over my dad.
Sure.
And it was just the right thing to say to me, man. It just, he was the king of charm and the king of blues.
What a great story. Blues in My DNA. This is your Alligator debut. It's your fifth album overall, and it's being hailed as a career defining work. Now, the information that I received states that it blends your own brand of rock, funk, and soul to the mix, as well as a generous dose of the blues. What are your thoughts on this album? Talk about it for a minute.
Well, I'm proud. I'm very proud to have the opportunity to work with Jim Gaines, the producer, and all of the musicians, the great musicians that played on this record. Uh, it was like almost like a homecoming thing for me coming back, to Alligator. I started my own
Sure.
record label, Watchdog Records, and I put out my first 3 records and a DVD on my own. No support. Only support I had was my mother and my sister Jackie and my dad, and of course Jelly Bean Johnson, who helped me produce the records. But as far as like a team like Alligator has, I never had that in my career until I got with Mascot with Times Have Changed, my last record.
Sure.
So this album's like a homecoming. I grew up at Alligator. A lot of my experiences was from that platform of my dad and Alligator's union, and when I was talking to Bruce Iglar about doing this record, I said, man, I know you love this music. You've been doing it for over 50 years, putting out records and supporting it. Let's make a record for the love of the blues. And that's how I'm looking at this.
Very cool. Now, as I was preparing for this interview, the interview this afternoon, I actually listened to the entire album at least twice while I was working on the questions. It's one of the things I like to do when I'm preparing for an interview. But this is really good stuff, and it clearly showcases the depth of experience of yours in the blues. But I'd like to have you talk about the writing process for some of these songs, Ronnie. Are there any that really step out to you and that you really found to be profound?
Well, Jim, honestly, all of my songs, the hardest thing in that process of making this record was I wrote 30 original songs initially.
Wow. Okay.
To knock off the other ones and come down to the 11, that was the hardest thing, because
I'll bet
a lot of my songs, all of my songs are like my children to me.
Sure.
I'm really attached to them. It's like I'm pouring out my heart and soul in these songs. And the hardest part is, like, I wanted to cut all of them, because the one thing we did when I was cutting my own records on Watchdog, I cut everything. I wrote 25 songs and I cut them all. But in this case, we couldn't do that. And, I had a listening session with Bruce and Tim at Alligator and my manager, John Bonsamino. And they gave me their list. And I had to come down to the list of the ones we chose. And it was a hard, difficult process, because I'm attached to all of them. I tried to put my heart and soul into them and feel them. Like my dad would always say, you got to get into the songs and feel them. And the great Willie Dixon told me, you got to be able to deliver the story, deliver the song, where people can feel what you're feeling.
Right.
And one of the songs that stand out for me, all of them do, but the one we cut, I recorded it on the Gold Digger CD. It's called Stuck on Stupid. And I got that song from dating my wife.
Okay.
I was dating her at the time. I lived across the street from her. And her mother and her stepfather were having an argument while I was sitting in the living room. And I could hear it, and she was so embarrassed. And her mother said, "What do you think? I'm stuck on stupid?" And I was like, whoa, that is a song, And my wife was like so embarrassed. She's like, "Can you come back another time?" I was like, "Yes, no problem. I'm going right home." I went right across the street and wrote that song, man. And that song has been a signature song of mine ever since. And when it was time to do the record, Bruce said, we need a slow blues, and let's do Stuck on Stupid. And that's how.
Did you ever go back to the neighbor and take that song to them and let them know where it came from?
Yeah. My wife, mother, she got to hear it. She got to hear it. Yes.
Wow.
She passed away in 2002, but she got to hear it. And she knew where it came from.
Man. Well, Ronnie, you're coming to the Token Lounge this Saturday evening in Westland, Michigan. This is going to be your second stop after the official release, which is happening over at Fitzgerald's.
Right.
And by the way, man, I would love, I've never been to Fitzgerald's. For those that have seen the movie Adventures in Babysitting, Albert Collins did a gig on there, and nobody leaves without singing the blues. I'll never forget that scene.
Right. Yeah.
But from what I'm seeing, this is going to be only the second venue in this list officially. So what can people expect from your show?
I am attempting to do all of the songs on the record, the whole entire album.
Nice.
Along with some of the ones that I've been doing already. But yeah, the initial, the mission is to put all of the songs. I got rehearsals tomorrow, and we're going to put all of the songs. I'm trying to line up the order, how we want to do them, the sequence or whatever. But that's the plan.
I wanted to ask you too, because there's a little Easter egg, a little surprise on that CD when people listen to the album, and it's the message from your father to you, basically giving you a charge to carry the blues forward. And I got to be honest, man, as a guy who's lost both of his parents, that kind of gave me chill bumps, man.
Jim, the last records I've done, the last four records I've done, my dad was on them. The Times Have Changed album was the last thing he recorded with me.
Yeah.
The last thing my dad recorded, along with Bobby Blue Bland. Bobby Blue Bland is on that record with me, and that was the last thing he recorded.
Wow.
And I was thinking about this record. I was like, man, this is my first record on Alligator. How could I want my dad. I want my dad to be involved some kind of way. How can I do it? And I thought about the clip that we, put in there. And I said, well, man, that'll fit right in there as an introduction to the title track, Blues in My DNA.
Yeah.
And so I got Dad there with me. I got him there with
I heard that the first time and I went, that was a little tiny, what the hell was that? And I went back and I listened to it again and I listened to it 3 or 4 times before it really sunk in what was going on. And then it went into Blues in My DNA. And I thought, wow, what a way to pay homage to your father, to have it out. And it's just that little clip, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I miss him so much, Jim.
Yes,
my
sir.
dad, like my best friend, him and my mom were very, very important to me as a man, as a musician, as a father, as a husband. All of my lessons and everything I've learned, based from them. And it's tough living without them,
Yes.
because all of my life they were so involved with us as a family. We would play board games. I never forget my dad. We lived on the south side of Chicago, in between Hyde Park and the projects, man. And the gap was getting smaller and the gang started recruiting. And my dad said, you guys are going to be in my gang. And here I am in Lonnie Brooks' gang, and I'm trying my best to keep his name alive and add to his legacy.
Yes, sir. Now, obviously, I'm going to ask you a simple question. You're going to have CDs to sell and maybe some vinyl on hand as well?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes,
I haven't,
man.
I want you to know I have not gotten mine yet, but I ordered, and I wanted to get the vinyl because if you notice, I've got vinyl here sitting to my left.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to get both. So I bought the CD and I got a signed CD coming. If you look behind me, I've got little CD cases here.
Okay.
I just got this today. It was signed by Toby Lee with his new album. I got Eric Clapton. There's Magic Slim over there. And I found one that's signed by your father.
Oh.
And I want you to know it is going to be a treasured part. I've got a stack of these cases over here.
Mm-hmm.
That's signed by Jim McCarty, who played with the Hell Drivers, and he was also on Devil with a Blue Dress, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. I got a bunch of these.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have yours, and I'm going to have your father's, and I'm going to stick them right across from each other when I get them.
Right.
And I'm going to rotate them in and out on my wall like I do with my 11 by 17 posters. And this is my way of paying homage to the Chicago blues scene, and such a cool thing to be able to have those on the wall and be able to look back at them and know that those were signed by some of the biggest artists ever.
Yeah, I see that BB King picture behind you.
And that's his 50th anniversary right there, buddy.
I got that same one, man.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's really kind of cool because I found that there was a gentleman that got this out of a storage unit.
Mm-hmm.
And we struck a deal on it. It was just the picture in the frame. And I told him, I said, listen, here's what I'm going to do with it. I'll bring it back and show you afterward. It also had a copy of the ticket from the Fox Theater at Detroit. It was just taped up above. There was a little glue booger up here. And that's where I put that clef note to cover that up so it looks good. But I brought it back and showed it to him. And he says, man, you sure did that proud. That looks so nice.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of the stuff that I've got on my walls. It's kind of cool. I've got a lot of autograph stuff and I've got a lot of other things. Mojohand.com. This guy I bought a bunch of posters from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just having a great time with, people catch me changing stuff on the wall, and it's almost like a game. So
Yeah.
anyway, I want to get back to this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get off
No,
on my
I love
stuff,
it. I do the same thing, man. I got so much memorabilia as well, man. My wife gets on me all the time. She's like, "Why are you keeping this?" I'm like, "Babe, you just don't know. This stuff's gonna mean a lot more later than it
Oh
does
yeah.
mean now." You know.
Well, I actually got a CD that was signed by Koko Taylor coming, but she
Yeah,
signed the physical CD. So I'm going to actually put the CD with the jacket in the frame, and
yeah,
that'll hang up here too.
yeah.
But I'm a big
Hey,
fan of her music as well.
I got the one of the last times I was with Coco. We were on the blues cruise, the legendary rhythm and
Yep.
blues
Yep.
cruise, and we sat on the deck, me, her, and her daughter Cookie, for about 4 or 5 hours, man, the whole
Wow.
afternoon. And we were just sitting there reminiscing, talking, and we eventually wrote a song together, sitting there on the deck. And I wrote it on a napkin. And when we got done, I said, "Coco, you got to sing this with me." She was like, "I don't know. That's for you. We wrote that for you. Let me think about it when we get back home." And then she got back home and got sick, and
Oh man.
but I got that same napkin that we wrote that song together in my safe right now.
Get that thing framed and protect it. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Ronnie, where can people get more information on Ronnie Baker Brooks? Maybe buy some CDs or vinyl, some merch, or get you booked for a gig, man.
RonnieBakerBrooks.com. I got a brand new website that we just launched, and it's got all the information there as far as my gigs, where I'm playing, my management, my booking agency, and we got merchandise there as well. So that's the place, RonnieBakerBrooks.com.
Sounds good. Ronnie Baker Brooks, it has been an extreme pleasure, man. I'm excited to hear about the reception for the new album. And, honestly, for people that are listening or watching, you really need to check this album out. It truly is some good stuff. And of course, continued success to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all you do for the music.
Yes, sir. Well, that wraps up this edition of Time Signatures. Our sincere thanks once again to Ronnie for his time, but most of all to you, our viewers and our subscribers, for without you, none of this would be possible. Jim Ervin reminding you that keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues, one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lcconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.
Baby, I'm